G'day guys, in today's episode I'll be servicing my Daiwa fishing reel. So it's been a few months, if not 6 months or so, since I've serviced my Daiwa Soul 4000, and it's had an absolute workout on the Australian salmon lately, and unfortunately a couple of times I've lent the fishing rod up against the bucket or bag and a big gust of wind's blown it over and it's ended up and smothered itself in some beach sand and salt water. But I thought this would be a great opportunity while the weather is not favourable for fishing at the moment. In fact, it's been 3 weekends in a row where I found it very hard to get out there and have a fish. So I thought today would be a great idea to service this Daiwa 4000 and show you how easy it really is. A lot of people are a little bit frightened of taking their fishing reels apart, and to save money you can actually do it yourself for free, and I'll show you step by step how to do that today. So recently I've actually made myself a fishing reels tools box. It's an old fishing reel box that I purchased a reel and kept the box, and for obvious reasons it's got has your instructions, always has spare washers, you get spare washers and whatnot. Anyhow, it's got all the tools required to service your fishing reel, so I'll just run through the tools that you need. I've got a Stanley knife. I sort of just have that in there. You never know when that's come useful. I have used it. These are the tools I really like. They're by Trojan. It's a torque set. They come with 2 sets of tools, racks. You have your standard Phillips head, flat screwdriver heads on one side, and then on your other collection there you've got your torque bits, and these are the most important tools of the fishing reel. Most fishing reels by Daiwa have now gone down the torque head screws, so I'll just run through them with you. And there it is there. The set only cost me about $12, so it's well worth buying one of these. And I haven't bought any fishing reel oil yet, but I have found this old bottle of hair clipper oil, which I reckon is actually about the same grade as the fishing reel oil, so don't be afraid to use that, in my opinion. But a bit of a disclaimer there, that's a personal choice. Also, another personal choice is this premium, they call it premium food grade machinery grease. I bought that many years ago and almost run out, so I won't be greasing. I don't think I will be greasing this reel today. You only have to really take that mechanism apart if there's a real noise or a solid problem going on inside the reel. Most important tool, show you another reason why they make it very hard for you to service your fishing reel yourself, and they want you to take it down to your nearest shop or even send it away to the Daiwa Australia store for you to have it serviced, is they require a miniature set of Allen keys. Check out how tiny that Allen key is. Absolutely miniature. So got that 0.7 size. And I'll show you what you do with that in a minute. I've just got a spare screwdriver as well. Phillips, even though I don't really need it. An extender. The most important tool I've got in my kit is one of these chucks. I managed to, I gained one of these through a very old style reel many years ago. It came in the box that I purchased a reel in, and it's to undo the air rotor underneath your spool there, so I'll go through that as well when we reach that step. You can use a spanner. There's no harm in using a spanner, but I prefer the chuck. Another important thing about keeping your box that you purchased, when you purchase the reel, make sure you keep the box, or even ask for the box. Every reel you purchase should come in a box, so unless you purchase on Marketplace or online, they come with a cheat sheet. So there you have it. It's your fishing reel that's been dismantled. All the parts are labelled number-wise. This particular reel's got 87 parts, so it's 1 to 87. Not all reel sizes have, not all reel size availabilities have every single part, but there's definitely worth keeping. Most of the parts are available. They've got part numbers, part name, part numbers. Makes it a lot easier to order that part that's causing you grief, and we'll run through that as well. So I recently had to order a part for this particular reel, and I'll tell you more about it. A couple other things you need as well. It's a bit of V-paper, just to give it a bit of a clean and whatnot. First of all, another great tip for dismantling a reel is to have a clean canvas on your bench, table, wherever you're deciding to dismantle your reel. I find that you can, if you're a beginner, like I was many years ago, you can label every single part in order that you've taken the reel apart in. So when you go to put the reel back together, you don't have any hassle with putting the reel back together and stuffing it up for good. And then you have to take it to your nearest fishing and tackle store and say, fix this. Righto, time to get into the servicing. So first of all, we'll take off the spool. You can actually service the spool itself if you really want to, but for now I'm just going to give it a good clean. There's a bit of sand in there. There is some washers inside the spool as well. You can dismantle that, pull that clip out and dismantle all the washers. Make sure you put it back together, give it a grease, you can pack some grease in there. And that's mainly the drag system. So while I've got the spool off, I'll just explain one of the parts that I actually ordered for this reel. So it's the pretty small part of the reel. It's the line clip there. It was missing. I didn't think that would be a problem having it missing, but it is. It's a major problem. If that part is missing, there's a massive hole there, and a lot more water and sand can get inside the reel through the access point there. So it's well worth ordering a new part if you ever have a faulty part on your reel. That was courtesy of the cheat sheet that I've got over here. I just went along, where's the parts I need, went to the chart, there you go, 9, 10, 11, and then went along, 9, 10, 11's the part I need, line stopper plate, line stopper spring. And then you go along and you order your part number provided for each size Daiwa sole there. So yeah, rang them up, and within less than a week my parts have arrived, and I then installed them. So very handy. So there's all the tools. Let's start dismantling this thing. So first of all, you need to remove everything that's on the shaft, the main driver of the reel. In doing so, it requires the removal of these small micro washers. This is all part of the drag system. And again, popping it in the order that you've taken them off. On a white sheet or even V-paper will do. And this is where that miniature Allen key comes in hand. As you can see there, tiny weeny Allen key bit there that needs to be undone. And I think I had to use the 0.7 or 0.9. I'll have a look in a minute. So that's the next step. The newer reels have all got these on them now. So yeah, not ideal, but they've added more and more bearings to these reels to make them as smooth as possible, including the drag system. This is where you have, if you've got big fingers, it's an issue. Use the longer end. Just undo that there. Carefully place that down. That's the next piece I've taken out. You can even leave the tool next to it to remind you. And then we're sliding off that sleeve. Next is the drag bearing for your spool clip. Just unclip that one. U-clip, C, that one off as well. And you can give them individually, wipe them down as well. This is the most, being a high-end reel, they've sealed just about everything as well. So you don't need to take your expensive reels apart as much as the cheaper reels. Your cheaper reels you'd want to take apart as soon as you get an influx of sand like this one. But being in a more expensive reel, you can a quick rinse under fresh water should see you through for the next 6 months. But it has been 6 months since I've taken this apart, so I thought this was a great opportunity today. So we're going to take the air rotor off now. So you can use a miniature screwdriver, take that little stopper screw out. Having a bit of trouble with it. Oh, a bit of sand in there. Just pop that off. It stops the sand getting in. But there is sand all over it, so you have to give that a clean as well. And this is where you use your chuck, your special tool that I mentioned. Place that over the nut. And you don't have to over tighten these, so it's not going to take much to undo either. There we go. Don't tighten that particular nut up too tight, you will stuff your reel up. Plenty of sand on that thread, so you have to give that a good wash as well. And then your air rotor. Just put your hand down over the body of the reel and just, oh shit, that came off a bit quicker than I expected. And you just push up motion. There's lots of sand in there. In fact, the bar arm mechanism's got a little bit of water and sand, even a little bit of corrosion going on in there. So I should actually take that apart as well. So yeah, there's a fair bit of sand in there, so that will need a clean up as well. This is the main driver of the reel. And that's a bit of a worry there when you've got sand and a little bit of moisture getting around there, the main driver. So we'll have to give that a bit of a clean up, I think. It's got some degreaser here. You can spray that to blast that off, or you can just use a damp V paper. Well, now this reel's actually got an anti-reverse on this one. And most of these reels with anti-reverse, it's the only place where the moisture is likely to get inside the reel, where the gearing is, and the anti-reverse bearing or clutch bearing. And they're the main parts that go first as well in one of these reels with the anti-reverse. So if you ever have any noise or the anti-reverse no longer works, so at the moment you can reel forward, but it locks up when you try to unwind. This one here, and you put the anti-reverse in, you can reveal that it reels forward and backwards, but you flip that switch, it doesn't go back no more. If you have any issues where that switch is in the off position and it still manages to reel backwards, that means your anti-reverse bearing or clutch bearing's gone inside the reel. Now that particular part inside the reel can range from $25 to upwards of $25 to $35 depending on what reel you have. Recently I had to order that particular part for a reel, and yeah, $25. But it comes with a 2-part, and I'll show that in a minute. Righto, so I've just changed over to a Phillips head. I'll just undo this mechanism. This plate separates the gears. The bearings. Shift that over there, that's the first part of the reel. This is the main part of the reel. So you could do that as well. 2 sheets of paper. Just carefully lift that off, because they do get stuck together sometimes. And it is magnetised. There's a magnet set up in this one. This is the real danger part of the dismantling of the reel. It doesn't look like much. There's a couple of O-rings inside, in between these 2 thin pieces of stainless steel, ultra thin pieces of stainless steel. Now that does require a little bit of cleaning as well. So we'll set that aside for a bit of a clean as well. Just slide the collar off. This is the part that comes with the anti-reverse clutch bearing. As you can see, there's a little bit of moisture there, or 1 or 2 specks of sand, so that's not ideal. Give that a bit of a blast off with some, I'll do a bit of a degreaser, just to blast off anything, any fragments of dirt. Give it a good dry, and then you only have to 1 drop of oil or anything like that. You don't need too much. And we'll just flip that anti-reverse clutch bearing out now. We can even tip the reel upside down, it'll fall off. Alright, we won't go too much deeper today, because looking down in there is pretty clean. There's no breach of sand or water damage getting inside past this section here. So it looks pretty clean to me. And it's pretty smooth when you're reeling. Well, obviously there's no anti-reverse now. I've taken the anti-reverse out, and as you can see it operates in both directions. But I'll put that aside. So if you get to this stage and there's no sand or dirt or water stains down in there, you're looking pretty good, and you don't need to go any further. But I will show you what it looks like to the side, and we'll dismantle the side plate here, just to give you an idea how much further you can pull this apart. But I won't actually do it today, because it's very rare you need to go that further in the servicing. So as you can see, this is the anti-reverse mechanism. There's a few slight little grains in there, so I might have to blast it out. I can order this part again if I suspect anything it's not working correctly. So you get this part here and this collar here for $25 the last time I ordered it. Not bad. Not bad value at all. If you take it to a service centre, they'll probably charge you $80 to do the job. So this is a very useful video. If you ever have your main problem for a reel to go first is this mechanism here, you can confidently go on the website, order your part, and for $25 or so, do this job yourself. Righto, next I'll take the handle off. I've actually stuffed up half a bit here, so I won't be able to take the handle off. I have to put the anti-reverse back in to do so. Make sure when you do put your anti-reverse in, it sits over that little clip inside there, and your collar goes on next. Anti-reverse, what's going on there? There we are. So now it's working, and you just reel backwards to take your handle off, and that's off. And there is a little bit of sand in there. This is where they put that sleeve over the top so no sand gets inside the reel through your handle. We'll take that off and give that a clean as well while we're at it. Yep, stops it from getting in. So that's fantastic. Give it a blow even. If you've got an air compressor, that's even better. Now I'm just going to blast it with some degreaser. So that's taken apart. Next is to take the, let's get rid of the bearing first. Next is the back plate here, cosmetic plate. And we have to go back to a torque bit. So it's back to the torque bit now. So get rid of the Phillips head and find the torque bit that's required. I think it's size 7 memory. Yep. So look at all that sand that gets caught in these covers. So it's very, that's another place where you could probably give that a blast, bit of a rinse even, and give that a clean up there. Geez, there's some sand in there. Just wipe that out. Because if the sand gets behind the screw there, it might get inside the reel. Take that plate off. And we've got 3 other torque bits here as well. Make sure you keep your screws separate from each section. So that one goes over there. They're a little bit different in size and shape. Recently I found a fishing reel in the freshwater. Thought I had a great score. I thought it was a brand new reel, but unfortunately when I took it all apart, I actually found out that someone's already taken it apart once. There was a screw missing. So someone's taken it apart, serviced it and forgot to put a screw back in. Something you don't want to do. These are pretty sealed really, really well. They're actually hard to dismantle sometimes. That's a little bit naughty what I did there, but just remove that. There you go. So that's the side plate off. And there's the main mechanism inside your reel. It's greased pretty well. So you can see this. These don't need maintenance. Very rarely. Probably, look, once every 5 years, something like that. It takes a long time for the internals to go, or for a problem, for any breach to occur inside the reel here. So yeah, you don't really need to do much maintenance in that part of the reel. But even that blob there is looking a bit, yeah, there's plenty of grease in there. And there's no ounces of sand getting caught up in this section here. You don't want sand running along your teeth section. Main driver. But you just turn that there, you can see how that operates. Slides back and forth. See how they really work? And look at all that grease down in there. Plenty of grease. And then you've got your shaft that runs along. It's got plenty of grease on it. And there's your anti-reverse clip. See how you can just get a little bit of sand or a little bit of water may even seep through there. Just remove that actually. Just get rid of that little bud. Should use a cotton bud, but I haven't got any. Get a few of those grains out of there while I'm looking at it. Yeah. So that's where it can get in. And that's where you probably could put a big blob of grease there to create a barrier. So no sand and whatnot gets inside the reel. Just wipe that real quick. But yeah, it's very rare you need to order any parts inside this section here. And if you do, well, you have to start dismantling some of these, which I don't like to do because they're set in their ways. I've had this reel for about 2 or 3 years and they wear their way in place. So you don't really want to take the inside mechanisms apart very often at all. That's as far as you'd want to go. If you ever want to take the shaft off or pull these bearings out, that's where you undo those 2 Phillips head screws there, remove the plate, and you can just pull that straight towards you if you want to really dismantle the whole reel. But for now, we're not going to be doing that. Just want to show you the basic way of dismantling your reel, having a quick little service on it, and then placing it all back together. Because people can't even get to this stage without being overwhelmed by the process. The main complication with a reel occurs here with the anti-reverse bearings. So if you can get this far, you're happy days. You can bring your reel back to life, basically. Rightio, let's start placing this reel back together. Just that cover back on. Clips in place nicely, and see how that grease is just poked out there where the anti-reverse clip is. Rightio, let's put this back together. So the overwhelming part of the process is putting the reel back together. So I've just placed that the cover back on. You can actually put a few dollops of grease inside where you're screwing where the screws go back in as well. 3, 4, 3. Overly tight. The cosmetics back on. Another part you can order if you ever crack or break your external panels on a reel, you can order those as well. Oh, got it. It actually goes inside there, not over the top there. Start off with the anti-reverse bearing. There it is. Just place that down in there. Make sure it drops in that anti-reverse clip there. Just see, I don't know if you can, camera can pick it up down in there, it's quite dark. But yeah, there's a little dollop in there, you can drop it on. And this is the collar. That definitely needs to be as clean as possible. So what we'll do, put a V paper down, and we'll just give that a blast with some degreaser. Make sure we get rid of any dirty degreaser. I should actually put some gloves on, that stuff stinks. Just put some gloves on, it stinks and it doesn't come off your hands and it goes all over the reel. You don't want it touching any new grease. Let's give that a good old clean up. Just looking at this part here, it's very close to, should actually purchase this part and replace it soon. You just see a couple of scuff marks appearing on the collar and even some black stain there. It's not a worst case. I've seen worse, especially with the cheaper reels. You get 1 day of fishing in there and you leave it for 3 weeks without rinsing the reel and it will go black and brown and rust up. Being a high-end reel, $300 plus reel, they can take a fair bit. So we'll just make sure we drop that in the right way. You can see there's a short, it's probably 5 mil deep, and then it narrows up. And then you've got this end where it's a lot deeper. You make sure you put the deeper end down first. Slide into place, find where it slides in. Keep moving around until it drops right down to place. There it goes. And then next, the important bit, this is the sealer. I'm not going to take it apart today. Might give that a blast. We didn't have to take it apart, but it definitely needs a clean. You will notice that it's got a pattern. There's 3 slots between each hole there for the screws. There is one way you can put this down. So you've got 3 you're looking at there. You've got 6 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So it's all set up there. So you make sure you place that down in the right position. You can actually feel the magnetisation. There is a magnet inside. Just clip that down and it should all be in place with the holes lining up. That seems about right because it's not turning from left to right. And then go ahead and place the screws in, but I may take the gloves off. It's hard to handle screws with gloves on. We're back to the Phillips head as well, so we'll change over to the Phillips head piece, the smallest one. Start installing these screws. Again, starting off at 6 o'clock. Not tight at this stage, just placing them in, tighten them up 3/4 of the way. Oops. There we go, tight. So, oops. Right, so that's all back together. It's looking pretty clean on the outside there. Now it's time to install. Let's pop that washer back on. In fact, we'll give that, there's a little bit of sand there. Let's give that a blast. Bugger it, got no gloves, who cares now? Got the reel back together, it's sealed, so it's not a big of a problem. Place that over the top of the side that your handle's going on, that's done. Time to put the aerator back on, but before we do that, we'll give that a good old clean as well. See how there's a little bit of sand in here as well. Just wipe that away. I'll clip. I even put a dollop of grease in there. Bit sandy in there. That could be coming from inside those joints. We may actually have to take the aerator apart, which I didn't want to do today, but we're going to have to do it. So first of all, got the need the torque bit again. Take the side plates off. As you could hear, it's a bit crackly. That's when you have to take those off. And as you can see, there's the bar alarm mechanism. So it's not too bad in here itself. It's behind where the spring motion is, which is unfortunate because it's the hardest part of the whole entire reel. I hate doing this bit. There's definitely sand in the cover, so that needs attention. I'll give that a blast. But here goes nothing. I don't really like doing this. Here we go. Just undo that. Oh, that's not good either. Undo that. It's going to spring and go everywhere. That's probably. I'll show you how hard it is. You can bend it out the way because that's actually got a. It's actually threaded inside here, so it's not going to hurt pulling it back that little bit. See where that sand's on that side as well. I think it is. Take that out as well. There. Just dismantle the bar arm. Just get rid of some of this sand. Replace it with some grease. Oh no, that's as good as I think I can get that. So I'll place this back together now. And it's simply, you can see that little hole there and a little stud on that side. So we'll just do that now. Oh, there it is. You'll feel it. It will slide into place and the air rotor should be in that position. As if you haven't cast, you're not letting any line out yet. Just see if it is in the right position. Make sure you hold everything in position when doing this. Yep. Springs back and spring. Whoa, there you go. That's a classic example of what happens. So I'm in a little bit of strife now. Just go and locate that spring. There you go. So that's what happens when the spring comes out, and it's really a pain in the arse to get back in. So this is not ideal. See you in a couple of minutes. Righto guys. After several minutes of looking through the house for the part that went missing, here it is. So I found the spring and the other piece, but I couldn't find this black bit. So we'll put this back together now. Where it ended up, you wouldn't believe, it almost ended up in the bucket of where the mop and bucket is. The mop. So it wasn't ideal. Place that back in there. Oh, hopefully it doesn't shoot off again. But that's what you have to be aware of. The idea is to get it on as quick as possible and hopefully do it up before it springs off again. Put the screw in before it does, I think. And then it's wise to place the cover back on as well, so it doesn't pop off again. Place this other screw on. Righto, so I've just put that on and it's nice and smooth again, which is fantastic. You can also put a little dollop of oil in through here where the line bearing is. There's a small bearing in there as well that requires a dollop of oil. Most of it's pretty smooth now. I've got rid of all that grainy sand that was in there. Done the bulk of the work. It's time to install the air rotor and the spool. So that just slides back on there where it came from. Spins around nice and smoothly. And this is where it's great to have this white piece of paper here and you place everything in order. So we're going to place this on here now, the order it came off. So we do that up. Make sure you don't cross thread it. Otherwise you're in trouble, you have to buy new parts. Go for the chuck. A few turns. And then when it starts getting firmer, just a nice firm tightening. You don't need to go absolutely mental like you do with major nuts and bolts. It's just firm, just firm probably, not even that. You can place your rubber sleeve over the top and we start constructing it. So obviously, as you can see, that nut is in the right position, because now you can actually place that little tiny screw we'll place back there. As you can see, it lines up flush, and that's to stop it from undoing. So when it does undo half a turn or a quarter of a turn, it won't fully come undone, and you can assess what's going on and fix the problem. Let's go for my miniature. You need the miniature Phillips head now. Just change over to that. Voilà. Not too tight that piece either. Make sure there's no wriggle room, it feels firm to me. And we make our way through each piece. So we've got this spacer. Again, a little bit of a clean up. Just wipe off any granules. Don't lose that little tiny one as well that goes on there. That's the first part, and it sits down on the shaft there. Can't push it down any further. Just slide that in there. And if you go over to the chart, if you're not sure, just whiz over to the chart. You can see part 18 and part 19 is what I'm installing at the moment. When ordering parts as well, it's probably best to just get the quote on the price of parts, because ideally you don't want to be purchasing a $1 part that's going to cost you $10 in postage. So just be mindful, do I replace all those parts from part 13 to 20, and then you're covered if anything goes wrong in that area. So just be mindful of that price wise, and go from there. Let's get this handle back on. It's got something to hold on to. And there we are. Geez, that's nice and smooth. I hardly did anything really. I just got rid of some of those grains of sand. Slide that on first, like so. Right, so this is the next hardest bit here. Placing this tiny little grommet in. Very fiddly. So you stick it on the Allen key first, and we'll just flip that bar arm out the way. Just slide that through there, and there we go. Just do that up nicely. Get your Allen key back, that's all good. And your final washer or two to separate the spool, so they'll be sitting on there. You can replace them as well. Righto, and then obviously final stage is pop your spool on once you give that a clean. Righto, that's all cleaned up now. So the final stage is I'll just whack a big blob of grease around there, if I've got any. Whoops, just a little bit, not too much, just around there like that. And there we have it. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you got the right information out of this video. It's my first time doing one of these type of videos. And yeah, until next time, see you in the next one.